What's a paradigm? 20 cents? Anyhow, our paradigm is we need oil. And this paradigm is a bit backwards to survival, and we haven't noticed it because we think that we need oil to survive, and mostly we need oil to drive cars. And I think today will be the first time I drive a car for a long time, and I might even take this along to see what it's like. Anyhow, what are we talking about? Our oil consumption, our mad consumption. First of all, who is running the planet for the last 10 or 20,000 years? We've just barely woken up. If you look at ancient literature even, there's very good signs that they aren't quite as intelligent. Take the Bible, for instance. It's very well written in a dualistic kind of contradictory way, but it doesn't go in depth anywhere. It's not three-dimensional. It's more two-dimensional. If you read 1,000 books, you'll see what I mean. And you should read 1,000 books. And if you're going to do a video, don't do it in the bathtub, because people think you're fucking weird and they won't listen. But I'm going to get right back to the paradigm of oils. The paradigms. Okay. Let's start with tyranny. Tyranny is the ability of a human being not to give a fuck about the rest of the human beings, to get whatever that human being wants. And a tyrant is usually what we have running the show. And you may think that George Bush is a tyrant. Well, he is. But George Cheney, what's his other name? Bill Cheney or Doug Cheney or whatever his name is. He's worster. But because he's a more what you would call a competent businessman. He knows how to rob billions of dollars from America, put it in his own company, and beat the shit out of Iraq, because those fucking brown people, who was it that said that? Kissinger, those brown people with all of our oil. Well, in a way, they're sort of right. It's not really, it doesn't really belong to anybody, so whoever has the biggest guns can go and steal it. But this is, of course, a very primitive way for a human being to think. And we're trying to get to a point where we say, can we even think about things before we do them? And so far, no. There hasn't been much thinking going on. In fact, it's discouraged. Anybody who spends their time thinking is a bum, a lazy scum, a rascal, a scoundrel, a rebel. And it's got a dirty name. Anyhow, skip right over to what is oil? And we'll take a short break so I can dunk my head for a second. Okay, let's try to analogize this with a comparison. Like, let's take sunlight. Everybody knows about sunlight. And everybody knows about neutrinos, right? And if you don't know what neutrinos are, it is the particle of darkness in light. There's always light coming from the sun, and like everybody knows, if you know anything about yin yang and ping pong, everything's in quantum mechanics, although we've got a ways to go in quantum mechanics yet. Anyhow, there's always more sides of things than a point. And in the light that comes from the sun, there are neutrinos. A lot of people have said, well, if the sun's so bright, where's the darkness to it? And the darkness is embedded in these neutrinos. They have very, very concentrated, energy, I guess, mass. They have a little bit of mass, but I don't think you can measure it. I think you need lots of zeros after the dot and stuff. And the nice thing about neutrinos is that we can barely figure out that they're there. I think we've detected a few with huge water tanks. Anyhow, they are going with countless number through us all the time. And we don't really take notice of them, and perhaps we'll be able to use them for something one day, who knows, maybe communication. But for now, we got other things to worry about. And one of the first things we got to worry about is oil. And oil is a lot like light. It's a lot like the neutrino of light. You have over millions and millions and millions, so that you've got billions of years, and probably only the last half of a billion years has been really pumping life. Life is actually fairly new on this planet. It's like the stabilizer. Water was there for 4.5 billion years, and in the water was some very simple life forms, but they were life forms, and more importantly, the water was there at a temperature where it started to get to a place where it could deal with itself. And anyhow, as you will learn if you learn anything about anything in school, which is not very likely if you're in school in America. Everybody knows that Americans don't learn anything anymore. I'm not picking at you, just that you should maybe learn some more stuff. Because I think the Americans are going to have to save the world from America. And I think they can, because most Americans are not what we see now overseas, is what America is. But like we see America is the plundering tyrant warlords destroying everything in their path to get this black gold, as they call it. But it's not black gold, it is black death. It is the neutrino of the sunbeam. It is all the death that could not be recycled by life over millions and millions of years. Every time a plant grows and dies, and every time an animal grows and dies, there is a little tiny bit of it that doesn't get recycled. And that little bit of not recycledness is toxic. Well, it's not toxic there under the ground, but it's basically black death. Alright? It is the most vile. If there was a God, God would have probably came down and sucked out this black death so we would never have to run into it, because he would know, or she would know, that we are too fucking ignorant to deal with anything. If we've got a big piece of cake on the table, we're going to eat it, kind of thing. And that's our problem. We've always never stopped to think about anything. What is, oh look, there's some oil, we can burn it and have lots of energy and make lots of things and do lots of things. And I mean, we wouldn't be where we were if it wasn't for oil, but then again, we might be somewhere else. Alright, and we will be somewhere else, because eventually oil's going to burn out. And we're probably going to have to spend the next 30,000 years cleaning up this planet. That's that white line. And anyhow, find out what oil is, realize that you are burning black death. It's actually the pus. No, it's almost like a lifeblood, but it's not a lifeblood. It's a death. It's a death reserve of the earth. It's there to destroy any creature that rises up and is too myopic to realize that black death is black death. Now, this ain't got nothing to do with the color of anybody's skin or the color of any whatever. It's all about the fact that oil has no life in it anymore, and it's been dead so long that it can't get any deader than it is. And to fuck with that, to burn it and put all those, and the worst of it is that we're changing the chemical structure of the thing, so instead of being, a fairly harmless thing down under the ground, we're turning it into chemicals that etch things out like plant life. And if we don't check and see what we're doing, we're going to kill ourselves. And a lot of species of creatures we are killing already. And I think from a human point of view, you say, oh, it doesn't matter. But on the other hand, it does, because we don't know anything about them yet. And as they go, the chances of us going increases. First the frog goes, and the canary goes, and then the apes go. And oh no, we are apes.